What's up, Cowboys Nation? It's week 6 for the Dallas Cowboys, and they're 3-2, and they're taking on the Detroit Lions, who are 3-1. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, here we go. Here's it out for Lamb. He's got it. He's gone. This is history. It's never happened in the history of the NFL.
Welcome back to another pregame prediction video as we look into week 6, just one game before the bye week, and it's a very much needed bye week for the Dallas Cowboys, and they're taking on what low-key has become a rivalry, the Cowboys and the Lions. The Lions have championship aspirations. I mean, let's be real here. We're unbiased and realistic here on this channel. The Lions should have went to the Super Bowl. And I think if they would have went to the Super Bowl, they may have given a better game, and they may, I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. I think they could have beat the Chiefs. But the Lions are a really good team. Lions are a very physical, aggressive team. And these games are always fun to watch. They go back and forth, and these are two teams that are physical, and it spans across different decades. It spans across different eras, and you know, at one point it was Romo versus Stafford and the wild card, and now it's Dak and Goff. And I think this is going to be another interesting addition, but I don't believe this is going to be the last time that we see the Detroit Lions this year, and that's my bold take, and I will save that for the end of the video. We're seeing them on Sunday, but it will not be the last time. I'll just say that. But anyways, let's jump on in. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Last time these two teams played were the Jimmy Johnson game last year, Saturday Night Football, Cowboys and Lions. Both teams were looking at clinching playoff spots. And I mean, this game changed everything. I mean, it changed playoff seeding, clinching scenarios, and all that. The Lions were looking to clinch that, a top seed, and the Cowboys ended up winning this game by 1 point. It was wild. CeeDee Lamb was a freaking monster in that game. I mean, he went, I got to hear my notes, he went 13 receptions, 227 yards, like just nuclear, and had obviously the Dak to CeeDee catch, which became the highlight of the year, the play of the year, and we beat the Lions. And on top of all of that, of course, we got the controversial call, I'm reporting, I'm checking in, and it wiped away a 2-point conversion, which would have given the Lions the lead, and they would have won 21-20. Okay. And I'll just say this. It's not the first time that a Detroit-Dallas game has been headlined by a controversial call. And, of course, I'm referencing 2014 wildcard matchup, a pass to the tight end at the time for the Lions, and then Anthony Hitchens had his arms up. They threw the flag initially, and then they picked it up. So definitely not the first, and definitely won't be the last time that this team is riddled with a controversial call. But, you know, whatever. It's still confusing to explain what happened in that situation, but look. Cowboys won. The Cowboys won. And this is the third straight year that these two teams will be playing each other. It's kind of like, remember for a while, we just kept playing the Vikings. It was the Cowboys and Vikings all the time. But now it's become the Cowboys and Lions. And we played them 2 years prior, and the Cowboys just handled that matchup. It was 24-6. Now, that was before the Lions became the Lions, because the Lions have kind of gone, they've gone through this resurgence as a team under the Dan Campbell era and under his tenure as a head coach. And, what he's done with that team is hella impressive. And if you don't think so, the Lions were at the bottom of the league. And they have been to an NFC Championship game more recently than Dallas Cowboys. Sorry to hurt your day. Sorry to ruin your day, but it's true. The Lions have been somewhere more recently than the Cowboys have, and I got to tip my hat to that. And so third straight time. Could this be third? You know, how does the saying go? Third time's a charm. Could that be for the Detroit Lions this time? I don't know. We'll see. But last time we lost. And let me throw this out here. The Cowboys have won 6 straight games against the Detroit Lions, and that dates back to 2015. They have dominated this matchup for going on almost near a decade. and they've won 6 straight. And you have to go back to 2013 for when the Lions beat the Cowboys. Dak was not the quarterback. CeeDee Lamb was not your wide receiver. It was the Tony Romo, Dez Bryant era. And on the opposite side of the ball, Matthew Stafford, Calvin Johnson, Megatron had an incredible day. And that's what it took to beat the Cowboys. And it was just by a point, 31-30. But Calvin Johnson went 14 receptions, 329 yards, and a touchdown. And it took Matthew Stafford calling his own number to reach that ball across the goal line to get the touchdown. And weirdly enough, like, the Cowboys had control of that game, and they lost it. And, you know, past is the past, right? Right, for both Cowboy fans and both Detroit fans. But also, a little fun fact, Dak Prescott in his career is 5-0 against the Detroit Lions. It's one of the better team matchups that he has outside of the NFC East. He's 5-0 against Detroit. That's wild. So can we safely say that Dak Prescott owns the Detroit Lions? Can we say that on the show? I mean, if you're 5-0 in your career against the Lions, you've kind of earned the right to say that. So, you know, Dak Prescott, I guess the Detroit Lions are the Detroit Prescotts, the Dak Lions. I'm hurting myself saying all of that. But just a little something, too, about this. The Cowboys will be wearing their bad blue uniforms, and it's the first of 3 times that they will be wearing it this year. And I, for one, wish that we could see those more. I mean, just wearing them 3 times a year is just criminal. They look so good. I don't know if it's going to be the blue uniform, white pant combo, but that one's fire. But the blue uniform needs to be seen more. I mean, 3 times out of the year we're seeing that. That's ridiculous. We get the blues 3 times a year. We get the what am I pointing at? The Color Rush, which is right over here. That one we wear twice a year. And then obviously we get the throwbacks once a year. And the rest of the year, it's the white uniforms. I think we should split that. The white and the blues, we should split that. We need to see the blues more. I know the white looks classic, but I want to see something different. Now, the Cowboys wore the blue uniforms 3 times last year, and they were undefeated. So this comes at a pretty good time because the Cowboys need all the luck that they can get, because the Cowboys have won all their games on the road, beating Cleveland, beating New York, and beating Pittsburgh. The 2 losses came at home against the Baltimore Ravens and the New Orleans Saints. And how about the Saints, man? How about the Saints? Starting 2-0, going all out for their Super Bowl against the Dallas Cowboys and losing every game since. You hate to see it. But this is very surprising because the Cowboys were dominant, 16-1 at home for the longest time. Now, that's another discussion for another time. It all comes down to strength of schedule. But, they had a rough time. Saints, the Ravens, now you're taking on the Lions. Tough home schedule. But be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe, and let's jump into this pregame prediction. First things first, you got the Cowboys defense versus this Lions offense. If we pull it up here, Lions offense, 19th in the league against this Cowboys defense, which is finding its way. And it's what I told you guys a couple of weeks ago. New DC, Mike Zimmer in the picture, new pieces, younger pieces, lot of starters. Young starters, first-time starters, and it was just going to take time for this seed to manifest and grow, and you're really seeing it come to fruition. I mean, the past 2 weeks, granted, it's against, and I'm going to get into this a little bit, but it's against lesser limited offenses, and I'll make more sense of that statement here in a bit with the Giants and the Steelers, lesser limited offenses, but the Cowboys have gotten some confidence, playing against those offenses, and their defense has been, they're doing really well, holding both of those teams under 20 points. Now back to the Lions, 19th passing in the league, 12th rushing. You look at that, which is very surprising. When I pulled up these team stats, I had because a lot of people got the Lions in their top 5 in their NFL teams, and they got them as one of the better teams. But when you look at the stats, I mean, you would maybe expect them to be a little bit better. Of course, this is just yardage, right? And there's so many things that go into stats and next-gen stats and stuff like that. But a little bit surprising to see them on the lower end of the spectrum. But at the end of the day, you are what your record says you are. And right now, the Detroit Lions are 3-1, and they have one of the better records in the NFC right now. But if we go a little bit deeper, like I said, we have to mention it every video, because if we don't, we just need to know. So no Shanahan tree in this one. Ben Johnson, their OC, has done a great job. I think it's 3 years going on in Detroit. And, he was probably the front runner to be the coach in Washington for the Commanders. But he wanted to come back to Detroit, finish what he started with them going to the NFC Championship game, and the Commanders got left dealing with leftovers, so they picked up Dan Quinn. And so Ben Johnson can be very creative, man. He's very creative, one of those young new offensive coordinators that really give the Cowboys defense trouble. And if you guys haven't heard us talk about it on this channel before, but anytime a younger new offense takes on the Dallas Cowboys defense, it's always going to be combative. They're always going to have the upper hand, because the Cowboys just like to live in the older days. I mean, their coaches, Mike Zimmer, Mike McCarthy, they're always relying on that old style of football, and they never embrace fully the new set offenses and all that. And it always bites us. And so you got a new OC, you got the OC Ben Johnson here. Now here's the key. Here's the X factor to this game. And if you could stop this, you're going to give this team a fighting chance. And I'm going to tell you right now, the Lions are loaded. The Lions have a lot of ways that I believe they can beat you. And me saying this one thing doesn't guarantee a win, but if you could do this as well as other things that we're going to discuss, you can give yourself an opportunity to win. And if the Cowboys win this game, it's going to be an incredible effort to beat the Lions. It's possible. But I just don't know if they've reached that unity yet as a team. But regardless, the key is to stop the run. The Cowboys have been really tested here in the first half of the season with their run defense. And like I said, past 2 games, they've improved. And maybe it's been against a lesser limited opponent. And now what I mean by that. So the Giants are not as talented. They only have Malik Neighbors, right? Daniel Jones is their quarterback. And they're limited, meaning there has to be a strong offensive system that the offense can run to have success and be effective. That's the Giants. And if you could shut that down, they're one-dimensional. If you can shut that down, you can win the game, give yourself a chance. That's the Giants, and we did that. We beat them. Now, same thing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're one-dimensional, and they can only go as far as the system takes them. They don't have a quarterback talented enough to raise that ceiling for the offense. And so that's what we saw on Sunday night. We saw Justin Fields miss throws, not challenged down the field, and when he did, he was overthrowing passes. So they were stuck running the ball just because their quarterback limited what they could do as an offense. So you bring on the Detroit Lions, and they can beat you many different ways. They can run it with David Montgomery, who's a very effective running back. I know because he's on my fantasy team. You got Jahmyr Gibbs, fantastic. They got a great duo in both those running backs. Then you got Laporta, great tight end, great blocking tight end, great receiving tight end. And you got Amon-Ra St. Brown as your wide receiver, very elusive, can get open, can really kill you with yards after the catch. So a lot of different ways, and so many other names too. I'm just not going to mention those specific ones, but so many other pieces in this offense that can beat you. And it's just going to be really hard, right? It's going to be a tall task for this defense that's already thin. Now, I wasn't really, I knew an injured Cowboys team could get the job done against the Giants and the Steelers. I picked both those games. I picked the Cowboys to win both those games because even though I knew that they were injured, I still thought that those young guys can rise up because I saw the matchup that they had against the offenses that they were playing in, Daniel Jones and Justin Fields. This is a much taller task for this defense, and I think I would be blown away if they did this. And I would love to be wrong, but there's just a lot on the table here. And if you look at the prior 2 games that the Cowboys have played, they were so much better with their depth at that point when they played the Lions the first time and they won 24-6. Sam Williams had a great game that first one. Micah Parsons had a great game as well. Last year, another great defensive effort. A lot of people were healthy. Cowboys had a lot more help at the secondary. And I think the main thing here is, I know we talked about running. We talked about stopping that run, and that's going to be a tall task. But here's an important thing to note. So the past 2 times that we played the Detroit Lions, Goff has thrown 2 interceptions twice. And I got it in my notes here who picked him off. First time was last year was Donovan Wilson and Jordan Lewis, and the year before that was Jordan Lewis and Trayvon Diggs. So Jordan Lewis has a streak to live up here on Sunday. But you see that if you watch those games and if you break it down, it really, you take away the run, and the Lions didn't really have a run game to begin with those games. They were reliant on Goff and these receivers to get open. But the thing that combated that and what made it so dangerous for the Cowboys is they had a pass rush. They were healthy. They had depth. They had Dante Fowler. They had Dorrance Armstrong. And I don't want to beat a dead horse and say that we lost players this offseason, but pass rush is the way to offset all those things. And the Cowboys, unfortunately, don't have that right now. Now, as I make this video, I don't know the status of Micah Parsons. Last I heard is that he is week to week. Now, if it's me making that call, we got a bye week next week. Like, just take the rest, take the full 3 weeks that you would have had with the injury, with the Steelers game being off, with this game being off, and the bye week, and let's have you ready for San Francisco. That's where I'm at with Micah. I don't want him to rush back. Now, obviously, Tank is on IR. He's going to be out for the next 4 weeks. Nealon, a guy that we were depending on, is now out 4 to 6 weeks with the injury that he sustained against Pittsburgh. So ridiculously thin. And again, our young guy stepped up and played an amazing game. Tyrus Wheat is a name that came up on Sunday night. It's just going to be really hard, really tough. And I think it's just asking a lot of this young, thin defensive line to duplicate the efforts that they had against New York and Pittsburgh, but now do it against a much more talented, rested, healthier team like the Detroit Lions. And I have to reference a game. So week 1, 2021 season, Cowboys and Buccaneers. Tampa Bay just won the Super Bowl, and I feel like it's a similar situation. It was a fun game. Tampa Bay won and it ended up winning 31-29. But what I said before that game was this. I said that I feel like the Buccaneers are going to win because all 22 of their starters were coming back, and they have that identity. They have that chemistry. Therefore, I think they're going to win. Cowboys had a lot of new moving parts moving around. And although they gave us an exciting game and almost pulled off a win, Tampa Bay ended up winning that. I feel a similar way going into this game where the Detroit Lions have a lot more continuity, a little bit more consistency. They're obviously healthier. And the Cowboys, I don't want to play the injury card and say because the Cowboys are injured, they're going to lose this game or they would have won this game. It's just they're ridiculously thin at this point. And the main strength that helped them win the last 2 games against Detroit is not there for this week. Now, is there going to be a miraculous showing from someone? Like, is Osa going to have a Chris Jones game? Is Tyrus Wheat going to become the next Tank? All those things are up to Carl Lawson, who's now on the 53-man roster. Is he going to have a game? Those things are all possible, right? But I'm saying based on what we're seeing right now, I just don't see it. Now, DeRon Bland, Stephen Jones has come back, said he's going to come back in a limited role, which is really exciting, and I think that's going to help. If you ask me, probably should sit through the bye week again. If we had lost to Pittsburgh, there's urgency. But because we beat Pittsburgh, you're going to have you might go into the bye week with the 500 record, which is 3-3. And to me, I take that any day compared to with the strength of schedule that's coming up. I want my team healthy and a blank slate 3-3 going into the bye week and giving our best chance for the rest of the season rather than selling out for one game right here. Now, back to the Lions here. Their identity is running the ball, and we've seen that with the Saints. We've seen that with the Ravens, and we saw what they did to us. Now, I don't think it's going to be as catastrophic because I just feel like this defense is getting better. This defense is knowing each other more, and they're putting out better performances. Now, Goff, man, he's coming off an incredible game. 18 of 18, 292 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I mean, they're clicking. And they're doing a fantastic job. Do I think he's going to have that kind of day against us? No, because I think our secondary is way better than Seattle. But that is something that we haven't seen from the past 2 weeks, right? We were playing Daniel Jones and Justin Fields. We're playing a pretty good quarterback in Jared Goff. And no matter how you feel about Goff, Goff is a good quarterback in the league. And so here we go. With that being said, here are my defensive predictions. I mentioned Jared Goff has thrown 2 interceptions in the past 2 times that we've met him. But there's the absence of pass rush just due to depth and not having Micah, and I'm predicting we're not going to have Micah and the tank. So I'm going to say Goff throws no interceptions. I think he has a pretty good day, honestly, a pretty good effective day. And again, I'm unbiased and realistic. If you want to check out another Cowboys channel, that's fine with me. That's going to pump this game up and everything like that. But I'm going to lay it out to you guys the way that it should be. And I think the Lions run the ball successfully. Now, I don't think it's going to be nuclear like the Saints did, or the Ravens did. I think we're done with those days. And if we do, that's going to be hard because we felt like we were building something, and then to revert back to our worst self would be terrible. But I do think they run it successfully, not incredibly. And I do believe the Cowboys allow more than 30 points. Again, I think it's been like kind of, like bend, don't break kind of style of defense for the past couple weeks. I know we're getting better, but I just believe the Lions they're coming off of a bye week. I mean, they've had 2 weeks to prepare for the Dallas Cowboys. And if they lose, humiliation better come their way. I mean, this is their game to lose, to be honest. But those are my defensive predictions. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more Cowboys content as we look at this Cowboys offense for this Lions defense. Cowboys offense, 10th in the league, picking up pace. I mean, the Cowboys offense. And thank you so much for checking out the all 22 film breakdowns. But if you haven't yet, check them out because we do break down the offense and just how well they are doing. Passing, second in the league. Dak is second in the league in passing yards. Our rushing is 31st in the league. But hey. We got a heartbeat. We got a heartbeat with this run offense, and Rico might just be that answer. And I'm just going to jump right into this. I think this is a great game to activate Dalvin Cook. Ezekiel, Zeke, he's... I think we're forcing it with him. And I think a lot of people have conspiracy theories about Zeke right now. People are saying they're not playing him because they want to save him for the rest of the season. But there's just so many opportunities where he could have been involved in the game, and he just hasn't. And I think that's because slowly we're seeing a lack of confidence in Zeke, and we're seeing the Cowboys pull away from this decision to bring back Zeke. And I'll also say this. So, of course, I shoot these things on Tuesdays, and they're released on Thursdays. But every week on 105.3 The Fan, Jerry is asked about Dalvin Cook. And every week he's like, this won't be the week. I don't see that happening. All that kind of stuff. The way that Jerry says it. This week, however, he said it in a way that wasn't a definitive no. So I like the idea of playing Dalvin. I think Dalvin has 1 or 2 games, and this might actually be the X factor. If you play Dalvin and use him correctly, that might just be a wild card enough to maybe steal a win here. That's the only time that's one of the only ways that I could see this Cowboys team winning is if they have a superb running game, which is hard to ask for, but I could see it. So that's me saying play Dalvin Cook. Zeke isn't giving you what you expected, and that's okay to say that you were wrong. Rico, we found that choice. Rico is that guy, but now we need to build who's going to be that dual running attack because Deuce was inactive last week. Zeke had 5 carries, and we didn't even use him in short yardage situations. Hunter Lipke is so versatile. He's going to be fun to watch because we're going to put him in the tight end position, the fullback position, running back position. He's going to be used for other things. But Dalvin's name is being called. The Cowboys have an empty spot for a running back to make to make an impact on the game. And I want to see Dalvin, and I think we might see. I think we see him. I'm just going to predict it. I think we see him. And we can't put this all on the passing offense. I mean, we're still a little bit top heavy. We found some balance with the passing game and the running game on Sunday. And, I mean, the margin of error is very small for the Cowboys right now. They're not talented yet enough. They're not there yet. It's still early in the season, and I'm sticking to this metaphor that they're a little tiny seed and they're growing as each week happens, and they're growing. They're looking better each and every week. But the offense, I just don't think is there yet. And I think what you don't want to do in this game, which is a total possibility, is the passing offense could just go off and take control and take the reins, and we leave the running game behind. But I think if you want to actually have a chance at controlling and winning this game and giving yourself a chance at the end of the game, is there needs to be some sort of consistency with the running again. And I think if the Cowboys can give a consistent effort and do what they did against Pittsburgh with their offensive scheming, with their play design, with their route design, I think they could have a chance against Detroit. Now we have to see it. We have to see them do it again. It's not enough to just do it once. You got to do it again. You got to do it again. You got to do it again. And it's going to be really interesting to see how they play with the offensive pieces as well. Like, where does T.J. Bass fit into this? Where does Tyler Guyton fill into this? Where does Terrence Steele go? I mean, still figuring things out, but we're growing. We're growing. And like I said, look, CD had an incredible game last year. 13 receptions, 227 yards, 1 touchdown. I wouldn't expect another performance like that. That was nuclear. That was insane. That was so much fun to watch. But I do believe that the Cowboys found success in distributing the ball. And if you looked at what happened in the Cowboys-Steelers game, Dak got it to 9 different receivers. And I do expect CD to eat. He's going to get his catches, 6 to 7 receptions. He's probably going to get to that 75-yard mark, and I'm predicting a touchdown. Spoiler alert to my offense predictions. But I think this is a great game, again, to build on success. What I really want to see, more than a win, right? Obviously a win. I want to see a win. But outside of the win, I want to see this team be consistent with the way they use Jalen Tolbert, who had a terrific game. I want to see them be consistent in how they use Konvante Turpin in the motion, how they got him the ball. I want to see how they use Ferguson. I just want to see those steps, because when guys get back and we get further into the season, I'm going to have confidence that it's all going to click and move together as well. So, and also Flournoy. I think there are some pieces still left on the table for the Cowboys that they haven't used. The Cowboys are underdogs in this game. I get that. And the Lions might be in a better place than the Cowboys are right now. But to say that the Cowboys can't steal a win is not far-fetched. They have pieces. They have wild cards. They have hands that they have not played yet and that a team does not have film on yet. Dalvin Cook, Ryan Flournoy are one of the 2 pieces that you could play here that could, sway something here. Flournoy could have a big game. Dalvin Cook could have a big game. And I hope they do it. If I'm Coach Mike, I'd do that. But, I just fear that they're going to revert back to their old ways and not try and not be spontaneous and not be creative. And that would be very unfortunate. But here we go. Offensive predictions here. The line has it that Dak's going to throw over 261 yards, or that's where he's at. 261's a lot. I do feel like they still find balance. So I'm going to say he does throw 250 plus. I don't know if he's going to reach that 260 mark or that 275 mark or even that 300 mark. I expect to see consistency and balance here again, and a good run effort from Rico and hopefully Dalvin. So 250 plus yards for Dak. I do believe he throws an interception. I just believe he throws an interception. This Detroit defense has a really aggressive secondary, and they can cause plays like that. Now, here we get to the fun stuff. I already told you that we're going to have a CeeDee Lamb touchdown. I believe it. He gets his touchdowns at home. He's going to get a touchdown. He's going to get in the end zone. So play that. I am going to make the prediction. Ryan Flournoy is going to get a touchdown on Sunday. I think it's going to be in the red zone. I think it's going to be Michael Gallup-esque. Dak's going to throw it, back shoulder. Ryan Flournoy is going to get his 2 feet in. I'm predicting it. I'm thinking it's going to happen. Bookmark it. Let's see it happen. Well, thank you again so much for joining me for another pregame prediction video as we go into week 6. And be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. But I'm comfortable with this game. New York and Pittsburgh, you could feel the intensity in the video, and you could feel the intensity in my voice where I'm like, we got to win this game. We got to win this game because the risk of dropping something. But now we got a little bit of cushion, and it's such a long season, guys. It's such a long season, and you want to, you don't want to put yourself in a hole. But I feel like the Cowboys have done everything that they should have to put themselves in a good position going into the bye week. I mean, let's talk about it. Best case scenario, they upset the Detroit Lions and get a massive win, and they go 4-2 into the bye, and that would be incredible. Worst case scenario, they lose this game. Now, it kind of depends how they lose this game. If they get blown out like they did against Saints, I feel disheartened. But if they give it their best shot, and we obviously see like, oh man, Micah would have made a play right there, or Brandon Cooks would have made a play right there, or it would have been great if we had a running back there. if it's that kind of game, then it's like, okay, I'm satisfied going 3-3 and being at 500 going into the bye week and kind of just having a blank slate going into a new season playing San Francisco when we come back. But here we go. Vegas has Detroit as 3-point favorites in this matchup. And the Cowboys have been undermanned. I mean, they are injured. They are more injured than they were in New York, than they were in Pittsburgh. It kind of just seems like we're dropping like flies here going into the bye week, which is, I'm so thankful the bye week's coming at a good time. We have faced teams that are lesser talented and are limited in terms of what they can do due to their talent, and the Giants and the Steelers. And the Lions are just not that. They have great weapons. They have identity. They're well coached. They're aggressive. And at this time, it's just really hard to see that the Cowboys are going to be a better team on Sunday than the Detroit Lions. Now, I get it. They're on a 2-game, they've won the last 2, and in total, they're on a 6-game winning streak as an organization against the Detroit Lions. But I just feel that at this moment of the season, unbiased and realistically, the Cowboys are not a better team. They're still figuring things out offensively. Defense, they're not all there due to injuries. And I just do believe it finally catches up to them because we're finally seeing a legitimate team in the Detroit Lions. So therefore, there's no need to panic or worry if the Cowboys lose. We're not going to storm the gates. We're not going to storm the Star and ask for Mike's job or anything like that. I think to go into the bye week, I would be satisfied 3-3. But if the Cowboys win, and hear me out, I'm a Cowboys fan. I would love to be wrong. And I do believe there's a very precise game plan in which the Cowboys, and we talked about it in this video, but there's a precise game plan that the Cowboys can have that could steal a win against Detroit. And if they do, man, I'm going to be the happiest man in the world. I just don't see that happening. And that's okay. That's fine. I do have the Lions winning this game. I don't know if it's going to come down to the wire like it did the past 2 weeks. I think the Lions are probably going to win this decisively, and it's just going to show that the Cowboys are injured and they're short in their depth at the moment, and the Lions are going to move on and be 4-1, and the Cowboys are going to go 3-3 into the bye week. But hear me when I say this. Before I give you my score prediction, I want you to bookmark this. I want you to save this. I want you to keep this in the back of your mind. I don't believe this is the last time that the Cowboys and Lions will see each other this year. I think the Lions are going to win their division. I think they're going to host a playoff game. Who are they going to host is the ultimate question. And if you ask me, the Cowboys will be a wild card team, and they will travel to Detroit to take on the Lions in the wild card playoffs. Bookmark it, save it. That's what I believe I'm happening. I'm making playoff predictions in week 6 already. That's what's going to happen. But I do have the Dallas Cowboys losing at home again. And I do have them losing to Detroit Lions. Lions moved to 4-1, defeating the Dallas Cowboys 31-20. Well, thank you so much again, guys, for joining a pregame prediction video. I know. But, I'm unbiased and realistic. And, the great thing about that is if I'm right, I'm right, which is cool, But if I'm wrong, hey, man, Cowboys win. And like I said, there is a game plan out there that the Cowboys can execute where they can win this game. It's just going to be interesting to see whether they do or not. And I'm fine moving on from this game and picking up the pieces. Because like I said, I think we see this team again. But let me know down below, what are your offensive, your defensive predictions, and your game predictions. And be sure to check out the rest of the videos on the channel. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. You guys are awesome. You guys watched the film breakdown for last week, and that was really cool to see. And, of course, I will see you Sunday after the game for the Cowboys and Lions. See you then. Go Cowboys.
Yeah, here we go.